ones for this past year just ended in October, and these have a great deal of flexibility in terms of who can receive these grants. I mean, it can go to a local food processor that's working with farmers. It can go to a farmer. It's a more complicated grant program, but there are staff to help work with you to understand those opportunities and what has to be done for that. But if you're not already looking at that program, it's a great program, great opportunity. And that also helps. So I've often said, because I've been buying local now as much as I can for about 10 or 15 years, but when I buy canned tomatoes, I can't buy canned tomatoes that are from Illinois or Wisconsin or Indiana. They're all from Oregon and California and Italy. Well, is that because we don't grow tomatoes here? No, but we don't seem to process them here. And then when I go to the farmers markets at the end of the season, there are more tomatoes than it seems like anybody can buy or they can use. So I've often thought there's a great opportunity there for value-added producer grant. Somebody comes up with that idea for all these tomatoes that we're getting at the end of the season to process those, and then people like myself that are looking to be able to buy canned tomatoes during the winter have an option to buy something locally.
Poultry with my son Jay. We have gone from one barn, and recently, the last year and a half, we increased to 2 barns. Most of our production is done in eggs, layers. We do a little bit on the broiler side, turkeys, small hogs. And then about a year and a half ago, a friend of mine, John Hudak, culinary instructor and chef, the two of us partnered up and we bought Hometown Sausage Kitchen, which is located in East Troy. We don't do any type of slaughter there. And over the past many years of being in business in poultry, it's always been an issue where to get our birds processed. State level, we have 1 plant. So we can't move from state to state with any type of poultry. Our plant in East Troy is a USDA facility. So John and I decided that we need to move to the next link of our business plan. And we put together, or in the midst of putting together, a mobile slaughter unit. And it will be federal, it will be USDA. So it can travel from state to state. Farmers' products can get processed there, they can sell, and if they want added value back to their product, they can bring it back to our shop where we can further process it into parts, sausage, and do private labeling for farmers so they're able to move their product more than just the farmers markets. John has worked pretty close with several farmers lately in developing some products, some sausages for them, and moving. So opportunities for small farmers, with the unit, they will have some opportunities now.
12 of which don't have kitchens, and that's where I work with Kim to get meals satellited from her district to mine for those schools. And then I have 3 middle schools that do have kitchens, and so they produce their own meals there. So probably most recently, her and I have been focusing and collaborating to implement the new USDA meal pattern regulations for the school breakfast and lunch program. And overall, we're very pleased with the how they up the ante. Some of the implementation has been a little bit tricky, but I think we have been able to do that by working together much more easily. But I did want to mention that I feel like both of our districts have always been progressive in this area. So in 2011, 13 of my schools were awarded the Healthier US School Challenge Bronze Level Award.
And certainly knowing that living in such a centralized location as Chicago, that there were farmers all around where I grew up. And I did grow up in an urban environment. So when you did have the opportunity to see food where it's grown on a field trip, or certainly from somebody that had been visiting farmers markets throughout my childhood, that was something that I was always very passionate about. In terms of what we functionally do as an organization, the Green Chicago Restaurant Coalition really provides all of the resources necessary for a food service operation to be more sustainable. And so when Linda approached us and kind of talked about her idea and her technology, it was this huge gap that we've been looking at in terms of the movement of the local foods getting into the restaurants in a sustainable manner. So one of the issues that we find is that to scale a huge, large-scale and high-volume restaurant to be able to purchase all local foods is relatively difficult.
When we talked to Linda and I talked to some of my staff, and my sales people go out, this is part of the issue. So in order to solve that issue, I got 80 trucks. I got 60 or 70 that operate in the city. I have stuff that operates in Wisconsin. We go all the way over to Indiana. We go almost out to Iowa. So utilizing those vehicles is always on my mind, how I can do that and how I can do it effectively. And so one of the ways, picking up stuff at a central point in Wisconsin and bringing it back and distributing it the next day. To me, the one box theory is always a problem if it's not a customer, but we can figure that part out. But a lot of times, almost all of the places that we go to are right next to all the places that you want to go to. And so dropping stuff off doesn't become that big of a deal when you do it where you're picking up enough. Some of the stuff that gets in the way, of course, USDA was very elegant in some of the things that they do and how to help everything. And I know everybody gets a little worried about the government, although we had a USDA inspector inspect the building today, did you know? He popped up, he just popped up. And he says, I'm here to inspect the building. I said, did you know how many people are here? No. So we actually had, but that happens all the time. I get inspected by everybody and their brother. We probably have anywhere from 9 to 12 inspections a year. Some of them are unannounced. Some of my customers do 2-day inspections where it costs me, you talk about your fee for being certified. Every time one of these inspections comes, it costs me $1,500 and I have to pay for it. Some are $2,500. One, they want to do $4,000. I refused that one. I said, you'll have to take one of the other two. But I actually pay for all that stuff. This facility is, we are extremely food safety conscious to the 9th degree. We trace everything that comes in the building. We know everything that goes out of the building. We know when we got it. We know when we bought it. We know how it came. We know what temperature it arrived at. I know what time it got delivered to your restaurant. All of that is all done by computer. All of my trucks have GPS on them. All the routes, all the stops. When we stop anywhere, we can tell you how long he was there, what time he left, and what stuff he left there. That's how crazy it's gotten for me, and that's what all my customers want. We are a very litigious society. Everybody likes to sue everybody, so if you don't do all that stuff, it drives you crazy. Some of it doesn't affect you. But believe me, they want you to give it to me, and one of the reasons they want you to give it to me, I probably have more insurance than all of you. And that's one of the reasons why my major customers wanted to pass through me, because they know that they, let's face it, that's the way it goes. That's the way it's always going to be. I don't mind. I actually like helping everybody. It doesn't bother me in the least, because it's one of the things that, in order for you to reach a greater amount of people, and I want better food to go to some of these people, they don't realize just how good local food can be. But I have friends in California, and I love them dearly, but I tell them, when your stuff travels 2,500 miles, it doesn't look that good. Sometimes it doesn't look that good. A lot of times it's okay. But we're dealing more with the guys here is more what we want to see done. It's just it's harder to do sometimes when you have contracts with certain people because they say you have to buy X amount, or you have to follow this particular food safety standard, or you have to follow that particular food safety standard. Some of that stuff gets in the way. Pricing gets in the way a lot. I know a couple of my farmers said to me, well, can you guarantee that I'm going to pay, I'll give you $18 for a case of corn in July? And how many can you pick? A lot of times we can do something like that, but if the market is 12 bucks and I'm at 18, how many cases of corn do you think I'm going to sell at 18 versus 12? And that's where it gets a little dicey with the local stuff. Everybody wants to pay for local stuff. Some people can, she's correct. There are some people that can do it, but there's others that won't. And say like a major restaurant chain who's working on 22% food costs, and you go in and say your stuff's going to cost them about 2 or 3% more, they probably won't do it. They'll give you lip service and say, yeah, they want to do it, but they probably won't do it because their model isn't built like that. I understand all that stuff. So I figured out ways to get organic stuff into restaurants cheaper. I figured out ways to get local stuff into restaurants cheaper. A lot of times, when you bring stuff to the Green City Market, bring as much as you can and sell it all you can to the Green City Market. But if you have capacity that there's another 20 or 30 cases, don't disk that stuff under because you can't get $35 for it. Bring it to me. We'll make sure that you get a nice return on it, but it's better than disking it under. I absolutely hate the fact that people plow stuff under. I think it's just a ridiculous way of doing things. But I've seen guys in SMP will call me and say, you know, we have 2 available at this price, and what's nice is they get the prices up a little bit too. It actually helps. You know, it's not a problem if people call me and say, what's the market on this or what's the market on that? Her cousin is in the wholesaling. He's at JAP, and I'm in the food service center. So we work together a lot. He gets stuff, you know, he'll take in like 10 pallets of zucchini, I may take 2, but wholesale level might be getting $10, food service is getting 14. So it's a little bit of a, you know, it's always a pricing thing. It's always going to be like that. But he has outlets for stuff, and I have outlets for stuff too. Like I can do small quantities. He doesn't actually do small quantities. I can do 5 and 10 box quantities. You know, because one of the things that we do at our local program is we'll pick. My sales staff will go out, and let's say I got 5 or 10 of them. I'll give them the charge and say, listen, so and so is going to have baby leeks, and he's only got 10 boxes. You know, go to these 3 restaurants, see if they want those 3. Elsie, with her restaurants, the same thing. They'll be going online now. We'll be able to do that a lot more with Linda's, you know, with Linda's software, which will help a lot. Because if you only have, 10 or 15 boxes to sell, that's fine. I don't care. It doesn't bother me in the least. If you got 1,000, you might be able to do something with that too. So anywhere in between, we have the ability to do it. Just knowing that it's available. One of the things that we do with the marketing is my girls every week, you know, because social media is so crazy, we tweet and we actually send out, you know, little hot shots and stuff like that on Twitter that says, hey, we got 50 cases of kumquats. They came in first, you know, $12. First 50 guys get some go. Works a lot. All right. This was a problem Chartwell's was having in Chicago Public Schools. So they had 565 schools, and they couldn't figure out how they wanted to put more local into it. So about 3 years ago, I designed a program for local frozen. It has 35 items on it. Chartwell's picked, I think they only picked like 6 or 7. But basically what it was is I went out and I procured from processing companies X amount of hundreds of thousands of pounds of each one of these products, zucchini, blueberries, apples, whatever it was, and then put together a different mix. And then Chartwell's took the mix, and you know, I had the price point below what they were paying for the stuff. So this turned out to be, and they put it in all the schools, and they changed the menu every 3 weeks. They changed to a different local vegetable, and they still have this program today. It is the most successful local program that they've had in Chartwell's in Chicago Public School. Go ahead.
I'm an electrician by trade, but a farmer by night. With your wind turbine and your solar cells,
yeah,
are you guys 100% sustainable for electric here?
I'd love to be. I'd like to tell Conrad to go stretch. You wouldn't believe how much trouble they gave me putting up that wind turbine. Yeah, the wind turbine actually puts out about 35% of the power of the building. With the solar, I mean, you know, my goal is to get up to 60%, but I'll have to do it with solar. The turbine is a 750 kW, and when it's really windy, when the wind goes up to about 25 miles an hour, it powers